Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
If we apply the Bernoulli's equation between section 1 and 2, you can write down P1 by gamma of gas plus V1 square by 2G plus Z1 is equals to P2 by gamma plus V2 square by 2G plus Z2. Now, by rewriting this expression, I can write down P1 by P1 minus P2 is equals to rho G or gamma G into Z2 minus Z1. Then here it will be rho G by 2 V2 square minus V1 square. Alright. So now if I just rephrase this again, P1 minus P2 will be 19.62 Z2 minus Z1 plus rho G by 2 V2 square minus V1 square minus V1 square. Now if you apply the continuity equation, here we have V2 V1. If you apply the continuity equation, you know already A1 V1 equals to A2 V2, and that you can write down V1 equals to A2 by A1 into V2. So you can finally represent V1 in terms of V2, okay, which is 0.444 V2. All right. So now by substituting this, we can rewrite this equation, that is P1 minus P2 is equals to 19.62 Z2 minus Z1 plus 0.802 V2 square. All right. So we have one unknown, that is V2. Now, if you remember the expression that we have derived in the previous slide, finally we got P1 minus P2. That equation is here. So P1 minus P2, we got it like this. Now, if you look at these two, P1 minus P2 and P1 minus P2 in both the cases, you can clearly see that 0.802 V2 square is equals to 587.88. So this itself shows you that the difference in the elevation of the atom head or the inclination of the venturimeter really doesn't matter. So it really gets cancelled out and it is implicitly considered within that. Okay. So we are taking this equals to this. So by doing that, you can find out that the velocity V2 and V2 is going to be 27.07 meter per second. All right. Once you have V2, then you can find out what is the discharge. And discharge is going to be A2 into V2, 0.85 meter cube per second. All right. That's your theoretical discharge. Okay. The discharge what you have obtained so far is the theoretical discharge. But the question is asking to find out the discharge, that's the actual discharge through the pipe, not the theoretical discharge. So to get the actual discharge, what we need to do? We need to multiply the coefficient of discharge with the theoretical discharge. So the actual discharge, that's equal to CD multiplied by Q theoretical, is going to give you 0.816 meter cube per second. All right. So this is what will give you the final discharge by applying the principles. Now you can get this discharge straight away by applying the formula also. Okay. Both way it is correct. All right. But in case of formula application, you need to remember the formula. Otherwise also it's not so difficult to apply. And we have already seen you really don't have to find out those differences. You can find out, take the delta H, and that itself gives you the total head difference. Okay. And taking that you can apply. All right. Now, having seen venturimeter, now let us look at the next device, that is orifice meter. Okay. So orifice meter is again simpler device. In case of venturimeter, we saw a converging section, then a throat, then a diverging section. But in case of orifice meter, it is a small circular disc kind of device which has some smaller area or smaller diameter area at the center, and the flow is constricted to pass through that smaller diameter. So now if you look at, this is your pipe. Okay. This is your pipe through which the flow is taking place. Now there is one plate which is shown in the cross section here, or we have got it in the vertical axis. So we get the plates, plate dimensions here. So the plate you can see here, that is shown, and if you see minutely, the plate is cut or designed in such a way that the pointed edge is on the upstream side. Okay. That is to ensure that you don't have a flat surface and that should not disturb the overall flow. So it is only pointed in this side, and this side it is slanted. So the flow is going to converge and then it will diverge on the downstream side. All right. So here we have, let us assume this is the section 1 where our flow is not disturbed or it has not started converging. Okay, the flow that is coming through the pipe is not disturbed by the orifice meter at the point 1 or at the section 1. Okay, so that's our section 1. Then the section where it is constricted, the flow, that is where the location where we want to get the next pressure, or we will attach the other pressure tap at that location. But this pressure tap, if you look at, it is not attached at the pipe or just immediately next to the pipe. It is attached slightly away from that, because when the flow is constricted or the streamlines are going to converge, they will not suddenly diverge there. Okay, so it will take some time. This trajectory will keep on still moving, and the area, the minimum area or the contracted area is going to be observed at a distance. Okay, so that is somewhere we are actually using this or pressure tap or attaching the pressure tap to measure the minimum pressure, because we have the maximum velocity at that location, so we will get the minimum pressure there and we are attaching that. Okay, so basically an orifice meter provides a simpler and cheaper arrangement of flow through pipe, okay, or to measure the flow through pipe. And an orifice meter is essentially a thin circular plate with a sharp edge concentric circular hole in it. Okay, so you have a concentric hole through which the flow is going to pass through. Now, what is the working principle? The working principle is the orifice plate creates an obstruction to the flow. That's what we want, contraction of area, so that the velocity is high, the pressure is low, and we find out the pressure difference, and then we find out what is the velocity and discharge. Okay, now the area A0, that's the orifice, okay, opening of the orifice at the central portion, is much smaller than the cross sectional area of the pipe, so that we get a significant amount of difference in the pressure and we can measure that. Okay, if the difference is not significant, then you may not be able to capture that using a U-tube manometer. Okay, and the error could be larger. So the uniform flow from the upstream adjusts itself in such a way that it contracts until a section downstream the orifice plate is reached. Okay, where the vena contracta is formed, the section where it is going to have the minimum area, as I said, it is not going to stop converging at the orifice or at this edge. Okay, it will still continue to some distance, and the minimum area is going to be occurred or will be found at some distance downstream of this orifice, and that is called as the vena contracta. Okay, and at that location, if we observe or if we measure, we will get the minimum pressure, and that will give us the maximum pressure difference that is between this pipe and the vena contracta. Okay, and beyond the vena contracta, the flow is going to again expand and it will fill the passage of the pipe. Now, what is happening in this process? In this process, if we see that there is some convergence taking place, there is some divergence taking place, and as we said, due to the convergence, there is going to be some kind of circulation here, and it will also lead to some losses in the flow, but there is a larger region which is going to be affected due to this in the divergence section, and this larger section is going to lead to or contribute to the losses that are going to be encountered. So in this case, there is a complete detachment of the flow from the surface. In case of venturimeter, it was not there. So because there is a detachment, there is a turbulence or there is some wake formation, circulations that will lead to losses. Okay, so in case of orifice meter, there will be some losses that will be observed. One of the pressure tapping is usually provided at a distance of 1 diameter upstream of the orifice. So you have the pipe diameter as D1, let us say D. Okay, pipe diameter is D and the diameter of the orifice is, let us say, DO. Okay, So the distance between this tapping and the orifice should be 1 diameter of the pipe. Okay, and similarly there will be another location that we are going to put, that is at the vena contracta. The other pressure tapping is going to be at a distance of half a diameter downstream the orifice plate. So this distance is half a diameter of the orifice plate. Okay, and this diameter is nothing but this one. So we have to ensure that this distance is maintained, but it is not necessary that you are going to get exact location by putting the pressure tapping there. It's an approximate location. By varying the flow rate, the location of vena contracta can shift little bit here and there, but we can only approximately figure it out and put a tapping. Okay, so considering the fluid to be ideal, the downstream pressure tapping to be at vena contracta, that's at section CC that is shown here. Okay, we can write down the equation of Bernoulli's theorem, and we will apply the equation between section 11 and 22. So not 22 here, it is CC, 11 and CC. Okay, if you apply that, you can write down P1 by gamma plus V1 square by 2G is equals to PC, that's the pressure at the vena contracta, by gamma plus Vc square by 2G. Vc is the velocity at the vena contracta. All right. Now, here we assume that the Z is not going to, no, is at the same level. So even if Z is considered, it is not going to affect. Okay. So Z is not taken into account. Now, after this equation, we know that from the continuity equation, the A1 V1 equals to A2 V2. So instead of velocities, we'll use the area. Okay. So you apply the continuity equation where you say that A1 V1 equals to AC Vc. Okay. So by substituting these values, we can write down Vc is equals to square root of 2 P1 minus Pc divided by rho 1 minus A0 square, A0 by A1 square. All right. So here we know all the parameters, that is P1 minus Pc, that's the difference that delta H will give us. All right. So what you know, A1 is known, A0 is known. All right. But if you look at here, we have AC, but here you have A0. Okay. So there is some difference. We'll see that. So now there is a correction in the velocity because the velocity V0 and Vc are not same. So the pressure drop for real fluid is always more due to the friction than the assumed ideal fluid. Okay. So we are applying some correction factor for that. We assume the real fluid, that's why we use the Bernoulli's equation. But now because it's a we assume the ideal fluid, that's why we applied Bernoulli's equation, but it's a real fluid. So we'll apply some correction for the velocity because there is a change, drastic change here. So the coefficient of velocity Cv is introduced to determine the actual velocity Vc. Okay. Now we can write down that Vc is equals to, that is, we already wrote V2, or in the previous slide we wrote Vc here. So in the next slide, if you see, the Vc is corrected, that is Cv multiplied by this term. Okay. So now the Vc is obtained, and here delta H is the difference in the liquid levels in the manometer, and rho m is the density of manometric liquid. So here it is already converted. So if you see, this is rho m by rho that is taken. So that minus 1 is considered here. So delta H, you basically take the height, that is manometric difference itself. Okay, you are not converting this to the working fluid. All right, or you can just present it in terms of working fluid, and accordingly the equation has to be revised. All right. Now, having understood this, let us now look at the coefficient of contraction. What is that? As we are telling, the area of the orifice A0 is not the minimum area, or it's not the area through which the maximum velocity is going to occur. Maximum velocity is going to occur at the vena contracta. The area at the vena contracta is going to be the actual area that we should consider. So if we look at that, we can write down Cc is equals to AC by A0, and that is area at the vena contracta divided by area of the orifice. Okay. So now Q is equals to AC into VC, and VC is already obtained. So if we write down all this, Q is equals to CC A0 VC, CC A0 CV multiplied by this term. So this CC is the coefficient of contraction and CV is the coefficient of velocity. These two together is going to give us the coefficient of discharge for the orifice. Okay. Now this coefficient of discharge is CD and rest of the terms are here. Now if you just simplify, you can write down it, the whole term as a simple constant, that is C. Okay. If we write down that as C, then we can write down C multiplied by rho m divided by rho minus 1 delta H. Alright. Okay. So this is the equation for orifice, and the coefficient of discharge is going to be CD, that is equals to CC multiplied by CV. Okay. So in case of venturimeter, we had got CD directly. Here we are getting CC, coefficient of contraction, and coefficient of velocity. Together they are going to give us the value of coefficient of discharge CD. All right. So here that I have already explained. So the value of C depends upon the ratio of orifice to docked area and the Reynolds number of flow. Okay, these are the three parameters which are going to decide what will be the value of C. All right. Okay. Now the orifice meter has some constants. So the important aspect in measuring the flow rate with the help of an orifice meter is to find out the accurate value of C at the operating condition. But if you look at the downstream manometer connection should strictly be made at the section where the vena contracta occurs. But this is not feasible as the vena contracta is somewhat variable in position. As I said, if you change the discharge or change the flow rate, then the position of the vena contracta is going to vary, and the pressure tapping that you have used may not really be accurately positioned. So it's difficult to realize. Okay. In practice, various positions are used for the manometer connections, and C is thereby affected. Okay. So if you are not using it a correct position, the determination of accurate value of C of an orifice meter at different operating condition is known as calibration of the orifice meter. So you can always calibrate that in the laboratory condition and then take it and apply it in the field, but still there are chances of errors and variation in the values. Okay. All right. So what we have seen is the orifice meter that is installed within a pipe to measure the flow rate within the pipe. Now same orifice or orifice meter, that's the circular hole, can also be installed in a tank. Okay. So when it is installed in a tank, so you have some kind of opening here which can also be called as orifice, but we are not calling that orifice meter. We are just calling it orifice. So when it is installed in a pipe, we call it orifice meter. Okay. So the orifice which is present here, that can also measure the flow. That is going to measure what will be the flow rate from the tank if it is, let us say, left open. Okay. So the flow from an orifice at the side of a tank under a constant head, so assuming the head is constant, okay, we can find out. So if we assume that the head is constant, we can write down the Bernoulli's equation. Okay, the energy can be compared at both the sections. What are those sections? One section is, let us say, here. Okay, and another section is considered here where we find the vena contracta, where we find the area is minimum when the flow is coming out. Okay, initially when the flow comes out, it will take a trajectory, and the trajectory will take a minimum flow area, and then it will expand again further. Okay, so taking that as this section B and the initial the first section as A, we can write down the equation. So let us say P1 by gamma, so this section is 1, P1 by gamma plus V1 square by 2G plus Z1 is equals to P2 by gamma. Here P2 is nothing but your atmospheric pressure, because you are open to atmosphere. So the pressure is atmospheric. P2 by gamma plus V2 square by 2G plus Z1. Okay, so this is the equation that we could write down. Now I think it should be Z2. Okay, so now if we write down, if the area of the tank is large enough, okay, so area of the tank is large enough as compared to that of the orifice, then you can say that the change in the or the velocity that is going to take place in the tank is going to be very small. Okay, so we can assume that the velocity at this location 1 or section 1 is 0. Okay, so the velocity at point 1 becomes negligibly small and the pressure P1 equals to the hydrostatic pressure, that is nothing but your P atmospheric plus rho gh. So we are talking about the absolute pressure here. So if you take P atmospheric here, obviously here you have to take P atmospheric plus rho gh, or if you take 0 here, get 0 gauge pressure, you can take only rho gh at this location. Okay, so P1 is considered as P atmospheric plus rho gh in terms of absolute pressure. Taking that, we can rewrite this equation. So that is going to be P atmospheric plus rho gh by gamma plus 0, because the velocity at location 1 is 0. So it is 0 plus 0, because z is also considered as 0 because we are talking about this reference plane. Okay, so at this location it is 0 and both this point and this point are at the same level. So the z1 and z2 are 0, and here we have the P atmospheric by gamma plus V2 square by 2g. All right, now having this equation, we can quickly write down the expression for velocity v. So if you write the expression for velocity v, atmospheric is going to cancel out each other. So what we have is the rho gh by gamma, and this is rho gamma is nothing but rho g. Okay, so if it is cancelled out, what you have here is only h. Okay, and if you take this, so V2 square by 2g is equals to h. All right, and that is nothing but V2 equals to square root 2gh. Okay, it's a very simple expression, but it can give you the velocity directly. So if you know the head, that gives you the velocity by taking square root 2gh. Okay, so a multiplying factor Cv, that is known as the coefficient of velocity, is introduced to determine the actual velocity. What we have got here is the theoretical velocity. Okay, applying the Bernoulli's equation, assuming the flow is ideal, what we got is the theoretical velocity. Now to get the actual velocity, we have to apply the coefficient of velocity, that is nothing but Cv. So the V2 actual is going to be Cv multiplied by square root 2gh. So experimentally we can find out what is the value of Cv, and that can be used further for the orifice. Okay, so now in this, the Cv is going to be always less than 1. Okay, the actual velocity is going to be less than the theoretical velocity because of the friction that is going to take place. All right, now let us look at the orifice meter, orifice. If you look at the rate of the discharge through the orifice, that can be written as now AC multiplied by Cv. AC is the area at the vena contracta. So AC multiplied by Cv square root 2gh, and same way the AC you can write down, that is A0 multiplied by Cc. Okay, so coefficient of contraction is Cc, and the relation we already know. So we can write down Q is equals to A0 is the area of the orifice multiplied by coefficient of contraction Cc multiplied by coefficient of velocity Cv square root 2gh. All right, so now this Cc and Cv together is going to give us Cd. Okay, that's the coefficient of discharge. So now we can write down Cd is equals to discharge Q divided by A0 square root 2gh. The actual discharge divided by theoretical discharge. All right, so this will give us the value of Cd. So we can find out what is the h, and from that we find out the theoretical velocity root square root 2gh. We know the area of the orifice, so from that we can find out what is the theoretical discharge, and we can measure what is the actual discharge, and by taking the relation we can find out what is the value of Cd. And in experiments you have options to find out what is the minimum or the area of the area at the vena contracta, and from that you can find out what is the value of Cc, and from that you can also derive what is the value of Cv. All right, okay. Now let us look at one application of orifice. So if you look at this, the time of emptying a tank. So you have a tank here which is having a variable or varying cross section as you go along or go down the depth, and it has orifice attached at the bottom. Okay, now the initial height of the tank could be something, and this tank can be emptied over a period of time, or it can reduce to some level at a period of time. Now if you look at the expression, we know as the reservoir surface drops slowly, the Bernoulli equation can be applied. Okay, so please remember, we are assuming this is a reservoir or a tank. The tank or level is dropping gradually. If there is a rapid flow, a rapid reduction in the elevation, then we cannot apply this. We apply that it drops slowly. So using that, we can apply the Bernoulli equation, and by equating the volume discharge from the orifice, what is the volume discharge? Let us say the flow rate is Q. Okay, so through the orifice over a period of time delta T, the flow that can go out is going to be Q multiplied by delta T, and because this mass is reduced from the tank, we are taking it minus. Okay, and what is that mass that has gone out? If you look at, it's the area at any cross section, so that can vary. So area that is varying multiplied by delta y. Okay, so over a distance y. So both Q and AR should be expressed as a function of y prior to finding out the time t. So in case you have a problem something like this, please ensure that your area and discharge are represented in function of y, so that you can integrate and find out what is the value of t. So if you integrate on this side, that is integration of delta t and integration of delta y, so you can find out t, but for that q and ar should be functions of y or constant, doesn't matter. Okay, so if at all it is a variable, it has to be a variable of or function of y. Now let us see a quick example. So here the same problem we will take. A tank has 100 mm diameter orifice. So the orifice that is attached here is 100 mm. That CD value of orifice is given as 0.65. Okay, compute the time required to lower the surface from 2.5 meter to 1 meter. So we are trying to find out how much time it will take for the water level in the tank to come from 2.5 meter to 1 meter. Okay, and the area of this tank is given as a function of y, that is given as 2 minus y by 3. Okay, now if this is the area that is given, let us write down the equation. So we already know the time needed to lower from 2.5 meter to 1 meter can be written as minus q dt is equals to ar delta y. What is q? If you write down q, you already know the expression. Okay, so it is CD A0 multiplied by square root 2gh, isn't it? Now that h is nothing but your y here. All right, so if we take the y, so it is y here, if it goes up, it becomes y to the power minus 1 by 2. Okay, multiplied by ar is nothing but your q. So by integrating, we found t is equals to 1 by CD A0 square root 2g. These are all going to be constant. So integration y1 to y2. So you are coming from top to bottom. Okay, so y1 is going to be 2.5 meter, y2 is going to be 1 meter. So if you write down this expression, you will get that is equals to 2 minus y by 3 into y to the power minus 1 by 2. AR is represented by this expression multiplied by this dy, and that if you solve, you will get a value of 73.8 seconds. So this is not so complicated, you can do that, and by doing it, you will be able to get the time taken for the water or for the reservoir to drop from 2.5 meter to 1 meter. Okay, so this is a simple problem that we have solved, that is to find out the time of emptying a tank. Okay, so here we have seen devices that are using Bernoulli equation, and we are calculating the flow rate through the devices. All right, so with this we have come to the end of fluid dynamics lectures, although there are other things that will come, but in general applications and the basic concepts are derived now. And next we will see the Navier-Stokes equation that we have derived already, the equation of motion for real fluid. Okay, that how we can solve, that will be taken in the next class. Okay.